welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. Thanks you lot. Gail. Thanks everyone online who's joining us. I'd like to introduce you to Gail Reid, everyone. She's a very talented lady who's featuring in our current exhibition, Get Real, with Caroline Levine. And Gail is very passionate about representing real people in her art, and she's going to talk today a little bit about body image through the eyes of an artist, a proficient life drawer, and you're going to talk about your experiences of the process and how it can be a transformative experience for both artist and model. So I'll pass you over to Gail. Enjoy, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Really lovely to have you all here. Thank you so much for coming to Glastonbury. I know some people have come quite a way. It was much appreciated. And thanks, Kim, for that lovely introduction. Caroline and I, so Caroline is the other artist in this exhibition, we are both absolutely thrilled to have our work up in this lovely environment and to have your interest and attention. And I think there might be some people who they're very welcome. There's some spaces if you want to come in. So basically, you can see from the work in the gallery, I absolutely love life drawing and the human form, and I couldn't resist this opportunity to get on my soapbox and just talk for half an hour about body image. And I'd just like to get a couple of things out of the way first, so we're really clear. So if you were to take your clothes off right now, and I'm not asking you to do that, I would absolutely be transfixed by your body, and I would be delighted to draw you, and I would give you a 10, whoever you are, all of you. So I just want to say that's not really what this speech is about. It's obvious I love all bodies. So the other thing I wanted to say is I am talking about body image, and I'm not positioning myself as holier than thou. I also, like many people, have things about my body that I don't particularly love, and if I had a magic wand, I probably would wave it in certain directions. So just so you know, I'm not saying any of that. Now I have been drawing from life, mostly professional models, for about 30 years. And recently, in the last couple of years, I've taken commissions, more commissions from people, so private individuals who've commissioned me to do pictures of them naked. And that has really shown me how diverse not only people's bodies are, but also their attitude to their body. And it's been a really interesting journey looking at how really it doesn't have much correlation with whether someone meets the current social norms of what is attractive. It seems to be a far more deep thing about people's feelings about their body image. By the way, this is Steve. He's a bit of a show-off. I've asked him not to interrupt, but you are really welcome to interrupt. So if you want to interrupt with any questions, feel free. It is being recorded, so your question would be on the recording, which is totally fine with me. But if you want to ask afterwards, then that's also very welcome. So Steve's not to interrupt. So there are basically, from my observations, there are three main reasons why people take their kit off and get on the other side of an artist's easel. And the first reason is money. So we're talking about professional models, and I'm going to generalise, so I apologise to any professional models in the room, and I know there are some. So in general, it's a hard grind. It's physically demanding, not particularly well paid, and there are very different settings where people model professionally. So you get everything from the academic art school, where they might be used as a demonstration model to show anatomy, and so they really are just held into a position, and then the tutor would use their body to demonstrate, so that the artists, like me, are very keen on learning about anatomy so that you can understand the structure underneath. So obviously professional models, I guess you wouldn't be a professional life model and have a body image issue, and if you did, you'd soon be cured of it by having all these artists looking at you, and it soon goes, I think. So there is a couple of models I wanted to give a little special mention to, whose work you will see in my work in the gallery. One of them is Graham. So Graham is a wonderful model, and the picture of Graham has got tape at his feet, and the reason I put that in the drawing was as a little nod to the fact that professional models, they often have to hold a pose very still, often quite uncomfortable, can be twisted, or maybe even with a raised arm, and it's hard. You can see them sweating sometimes and trembling, and these tape marks are put there in order to that when they have a rest, they can go back into the exact same position and re-establish themselves. You can imagine that's quite hard if you've been in a twist and you've had a bit of a rest to go back into that position. So there's a blue, I don't know if you see the print of a blue lady bent her. So that was a really joyful collaboration. So we're starting to move into the territory where the model has an artistic input, and so Benter is a professional model. But a friend and I hired her privately. So we had a room. It was my friend Dave's flat. It had a lovely blanket with a pattern, and we put the ABBA up really loud, and we had a ball. It was really fun, and so I love that picture because it reflects that fun that we had. So it's not always a sort of you and separated situation, but it sort of is when someone's being paid to model. So that's the first scenario. So the next scenario is, and this is one that really uplifts me when I have commissions for this sort of thing, and it's people who want to be drawn from life as a celebration, and these people totally get it. They totally get that they are lush, as we say in Bristol. They are absolutely gorgeous, and these people, it might be a portrait. Sometimes I get commissions from people who want to generously give their partners a picture of themselves naked, and it's just great. It's like I want some of that. I want some of that kind of like, I know I'm gorgeous, I know you know I'm gorgeous, and I'm just going to give you this picture. So that's really lovely. Sometimes it's like a pregnancy portrait, so it's a celebration of the bump. And it can be, so it could be someone who perhaps likes dressing in the opposite gender clothes and wants, can't always express themselves, but they know it looks great and they want to have a picture of themselves in their splendour, or like some bits covered and other bits not. And what was the other one I was going to say? Oh yes, and then lovers. So sometimes it can be two people, so together celebrating their love and celebrating their physicality together. And what an amazing thing to have up on your wall forever. So that is the second kind of very generalised reason why I see people commissioning nudes of themselves. And then there's the third reason, and these people are the heroes of my tale. So these are people who do it for personal growth, and this is an area that really interests me. So people who, it might be just a sort of sense of not being happy with their bodies, maybe they've been teased, maybe there's some things that they don't like or aren't comfortable with, and who just have that sense of actually trying to do something about that. And it's one of the things that people try is, they might commission an artist, probably knowing full well that the artist will love their body, and so one of my recent commissions, I had some really lovely feedback afterwards, and I was told this subject said he didn't like looking at himself in a photograph, and he said he didn't feel comfortable looking at his own image in a photograph. But when he saw the image of himself that I'd drawn, and he could see my cherishing of his form, he had a sort of a revelation of just, this is like I think he saw himself in a new light, and it was very moving to receive, and I do receive lovely feedback like that. So it could be that sort of challenge, someone who's looking for a challenge, and it could also be a situation where perhaps someone has had surgery, or in terms of, you all have seen, I hope, the pictures of Cheryl, and Cheryl undertook to be drawn because she had recently had a mastectomy and was feeling pretty down on the physical thing, that was going on, and again wanted to take positive steps to move herself forward. And we had the most amazing time together, Cheryl and me. It was just a collaboration, and I think I will talk in a minute about my process, and I hope that will illustrate then for you how it can be so transformative. And so Cheryl wrote some lovely words as well about how it really helped her see her beauty in her, the scars and the body and her new shape, and actually appreciate the beauty in that. So there's a couple of examples. I'm sure you can think of lots more situations where it's potentially valuable. You really are welcome to ask questions if you want, but I'll just plough on. And guys, you're welcome to come in if you want. So I want to talk a little bit about my process and what happens, the layers that you go through when you're drawing. And it's nothing particularly unusual what I do. This is like standard life drawing stuff. So basically, when I've got either a reference photo or a model, and I've got my paper, so I'll start by drawing what we call the envelope. So I'll mark out the top and the bottom, make sure I've got enough space round the edge, and and if they're extended to the side as well. So I look for the envelope of the shape, the big outside, and then I go through a process that's called working from the general to the specific. So I might kind of work out a halfway point and look at the model, and then look at my drawing and try and work out what's halfway, and look for plumb lines, things that line up vertically. So I do some very big scale measuring first, and then I start looking for gesture. So I'm sure you know what gesture is, but if you've got a model who might be in motion, or they might have their weight on one foot, and you look for those, the rhythm and the what gives it rhythm and energy in the gesture. So I look for those lines and shapes, and then this is Steve's moment. So then I try and look in. So I'm looking into their body, and I'm trying to see the mass of the rib cage, the pelvis. The joints, you look for clues on the outside that tell of what's on the inside, and obviously the spine is very key because that can often show the gesture as well. So you just try and account for all those sort of things in the drawing or painting. And then there's the skull. So I'm going to take Steve's. Oh, there you go, Steve. Thank you. Oh, you want to wear them like that, right? He said he's got these handy cheekbones that he can just put his. So basically, there's a little digression, if I promise it is relevant. So when I'm drawing a face, say, in my observation of the person's face, I'm looking for all these landmarks. So I'm looking for the eye sockets, I'm looking for the bridge of the nose, looking for the cheeks and the jaw, and like the male and female jaw have got very different angles here. I don't have any angles at all on my jaw. So I've come to know, bits come off Steve. He very happily lets me draw bits of him. So I quite often take his head off and just draw his skull. And therefore I've become very familiar with Steve's skull in particular. And I'd always kind of thought skulls were pretty much of a muchness. You're taught to look for those things. But one day I was with the family it was like a cutting and sticking half-term activity in the Royal West of England Academy. And in there, on the wall, they had, presumably for their life drawing teaching, they had a skeleton hanging up. Oh, by the way, Steve is actually a resin skeleton. He's not real. So I glanced up at this skeleton and then did a complete double take, because this skeleton's face was totally different to Steve's. It was heavy, it was long, it was thick set, quite square, really quite like my face in terms of rectangular. And I suddenly realised that really our outward image is as diverse as our inner you know, our skeletons are also so different. So we think we're a bit different when we look at each other, but all this is also different inside. And it just really took me, I should have been obvious, but it took me back, that thing. Anyway, so to carry on with the drawing process. So once I've kind of got a sense of the skeleton inside, then I start to look for outer landmarks, and this is where it starts to get really interesting. So you can use shadows to show, so the cast shadow of like a hand or a breast, and the landmark of the groin here, there's often a triangle there, you get nipples and navel and all that jazz. And so I look for those things, and if someone is perhaps twisted like this, you get crunched bulges there and stretch there, and that's what I'm looking for. So if there's some sort of buff, nubile model, it's not really much to get my teeth into. And so when someone's got these bulges and creases, then it's fabulous, and then I've got really something that I can work with in terms of portraying the person and getting that body down on paper. And so you get these cast shadows, which are really handy. So quite often, I don't know if I've got one now, but under your nose you see a cast shadow, and these shadows don't really show the shape of the form. What they show is the shape of what they fall onto. So they curve around the form. So you can use those shadows to show the volume and the turning of the form. So then we get to the icing on the cake. So the icing on the cake is bits of hair, cellulite, scars, moles, all of that. That's really the stuff. So when I get to that stage, and it's showing the texture, and that's where I'm really like, oh, brilliant! I'm going to get that in. And so I hope that's really it. That's really what I do, and that's why I think, if someone is standing in front of me modelling, or they're watching, you know, if they commission a picture, then I send progress shots, they can see those layers come, and they can see I hope they can feel a bit of that, you know, relishing of the very things that sometimes we're taught to, you know, not relish. So, so lastly, I had a couple, what was my other things I was going to say, sorry. Yeah, so just to sort of finish, I like to think of it as it's a sort of a friendship and a rapport that you have. And I think if you look for a friend, I don't look for a beautiful friend. I don't seek out beautiful people and say, I'll go with that beautiful one over there. You look for people who are interesting, people who you can have a dialogue with, people who've got a story. And I think in our heart of hearts, I hope that we all sort of know that we have that in us, and it shows on your body. And I think that's what I look for when I'm looking for a model. So I think we are extremely lucky to live in a country where nude, you know, it's okay to have nude pictures up on the wall. We have life drawing that can't be taken for granted. It's certainly not available all over the world. It's not legal all over the world. So I make it my business to try and keep opening that book and trying to keep, you know, being as positive as I can about my own body. I'm not quite there yet. You know, when I'm in a drawing class and the model's late, I have this little internal wrestle of like, why am I such a hypocrite? You know, could I not just kind of, you know, offer to do it? And I haven't been brave enough to do that yet. Yeah, so I think just to keep opening the book, and I'm so delighted that Heart of the Tribe have got this work up on the walls. Caroline and I are both thrilled to be here, and yes, Alan,
sorry,
hi.
Could I just ask you, when you're saying about the process, what sort of time do you take for doing sketches? I know we've done life drawing before, and I've got this thing where they do a 2-minute one, and I've got sort of two or three pencil marks on there, you know, and I'm better with a sort of 10-minute one. And
yes.
I never used to like when it was an hour one, because to me that was too long.
Yes. Yeah.
What sort of time frame?
Well, you've got, you know, there's the other side of the equation sitting on the other side of. So yeah, so some people it's partly a matter of taste, And it's partly, so the quick ones, some people like you love the quick ones, some people love to take 30 seconds. 30 seconds is about, you can do a 5-second, but then it's really gesture. It's just only gesture. So the longer it is, the more refined it is. And so in my regular, the independent life drawing, which I do sometimes, which is run by 2 models, they do 5 2-minute poses, then 2 5s, then 2 10s, then a 20, then a break, and then a 40. But you can do poses where you come back every week for a month or 2, and so you'll do, it can be many hours. So anywhere, and then different artists have different tastes. I like it all. Sorry, you won't be surprised. Yeah, I like it all. But and they all teach you things. So yeah. Well, so that's. I don't know if I've convinced you that I think it's. I don't think bodies are beautiful. I think people are beautiful. I think your bodies are interesting and people are beautiful. There's my closing line. So, any questions or observations, or you're very welcome.
I don't know if you're aware that the Archers had an episode. I don't listen to it a lot, but this is major culturally, where there was a life drawing class set up and the model didn't appear. So a lady of a certain age, who one assumed would never take her clothes off, said that she'd like to do it. And it was absolutely fascinating, the whole discussion about that.
Yes.
And then in the community.
Yes.
And I was really thinking, 10, 15 years ago, it would have all been dirty laughs,
Yes.
And it was completely, everybody was saying how brave she was and how amazing it was. And I thought, wow, we as the uptight English, we've
finally come away.
To a
Yes.
point where
Yes.
we can actually integrate that into our culture.
I had an interest. Well, the French, I love Paris, and I do draw in a fantastic academy where I go draw in Paris. And I was doing some life drawing in another organisation in Paris, and it was unusual that they'd arranged, instead of having one model, they had a couple. So they had a man and a woman together modelling. And there were a lot of regular artists who came in to draw, and this guy came in, took one look and said, "Oh, I'm going," in French, and and the person who was organising said, "What's the matter?" And he said, "I don't draw men." And I was just like, so yes, none of us are. Yeah, it's amazing. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where, but I find the life modelling world to be incredibly inclusive, and models who have something about them, whether it's an asymmetry or an unusual weight, or they're in great demand, and generally they know it, which is fabulous to witness. Yeah. Thanks, Melanie. Yeah. Anyone else? No? Well, thank you so much, Kim, for the platform. Over to you.
Well, thank you. Thanks everyone that came, and thanks everyone that joined us online. The video will be available to watch on YouTube and the various social media channels if anybody wants to share it with their friends. That kind of thing really helps the gallery, so it's very, very appreciated. The exhibition Get Real runs until the 31st of May, so plenty of time to send people along. All our exhibitions are available online as well. And after that, we've got a wonderful exhibition by a chap called Frank Harwood, who's a local artist, very bright, colourful. Oh yeah, this is some of his work, and this one over here. So please come back. The artwork changes every month, and we hope to be doing more of this kind of thing. I think it's really great. It's lovely to be able to kind of start a dialogue about art, and it's really exciting to be able to start holding events where we can invite people to actually join us and do stuff. So do come back, and thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone.
Thank you all.
And thanks, Steve.
Yes, Steve.